Hi, my name is Nick, and welcome to Nick's Picks, the YouTube channel where we look at watches that I would pick, I might pick, or I have picked. And today we're going to be looking at a watch that I have in fact picked. The Hamilton Jazzmaster Thin Line Automatic. It is a 40mm automatic, beautiful blue dial, very thin case. It's a dress watch style, but it's affordable. It's under $1,000, in fact. And as we look at this, you might say, okay, well, Hamilton, that's an American watch company, right? Well, in reality, this is a Swiss-made watch at this point because, like many other companies, Hamilton has kind of gone the way of being acquired by the Swatch Group. Swatch Group, yes, owns a lot of different watch companies out there. But it does benefit from this acquisition in this case because it's powered by a beautiful ETA 2892 A2 movement. Now, that's a movement that you'll find at the base of a lot of different calibers with its 3.6 millimeter. Yes, 3.6 millimeter height. You find it used in movements where you want to have additional complications layered on top of that. So you find it modified quite a bit. In fact, Omega has actually adopted this same caliber in their Omega 2500 by basically swapping out the escapement with a coaxial escapement and, of course, changing up the number of jewels. So this is a beautiful watch. It's affordable, dress styling, it's in steel. The first time I encountered this, I wasn't really looking for a Hamilton Jazzmaster. I was just in the Hamilton section, and I was actually looking for a Hamilton Khaki. I love the Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical. I love that whole series just has that military heritage, and it's gorgeous, and I love it. But I saw this one. This one kind of caught my eye. This is not the one that made me pull the trigger, though. I saw one next to it, and the one next to it was actually this brown dial. It was a fume style, so it kind of like faded from this lighter brown to this darker brown, and the case was gold, and I was like, wow, that's incredible. Really, really caught my eye. And as I looked at it, I'm like, well, wait a minute, this is a Hamilton. It's an affordable watch. It's less than $1,000. There's no way that's going to be a solid gold case, and sure enough, it was plated. And for me, I'm not really one that likes plated cases, and it's not because I'm too posh for a gold plate. It looks not good once you start scratching up, once you start actually wearing it. And actually, this one actually came with its own scratch. It came with a scratch. I don't think it's going to show up, but on that side of the case. So if that was in the gold, you'd see some weird silver or stainless steel showing through. So I didn't want that. I went with the steel. I love blue dials. This one's kind of this grayish blue. So I went with that. Now, there is one strange thing about it that I didn't notice until I got home, and let's see if you've already noticed it here. But before we do, let's go ahead and take a look at it, dig into the stats, and then we'll call it out if you haven't already noticed. All right, so here it is, the Hamilton Jazzmaster Thin Line Automatic, 40 millimeters in blue. Well, at least the dial is blue. It has a stainless steel case that measures out at 40 millimeters with a 45.5 millimeter lug-to-lug, so even those with maybe a little bit smaller wrists will be happy to be wearing this one. In terms of its thickness, that's really a major part of the story here. It comes in at a staggering 8.6 mil thick, so not thick at all. In fact, it's very thin, very easy to slip under the cuff if you need it to. Lug width is stock standard, 20 millimeter lug width, and you'll find that if you do need to change the strap, you will have an ample selection of straps and bracelets even available for this watch. In terms of the case back, it is a display case back. Both the crystal on the front and the crystal on the back are in fact sapphire crystal. There's a thick anti-reflective coating on the front. I don't know if you've noticed that as I've been moving it around here. You'll get that little hint of blue. There it is right there, that little hint of blue. That is the really thick anti-reflective coating on the front. However, as we look at the case back, it doesn't have that same coating there as one might expect. In other words, we might expect it to not have that. It is powered by the ETA 2892-A2, like we discussed, with a 42-hour power reserve. And it is a beautiful movement. It is one of those movements that you'll see in quite a few different watches, both as the base caliber for, modifications from higher luxury brands, as it were, or as the base caliber underneath more complicated watches. In terms of its accuracy, it runs on the time grapher in a single position, single temperature at about plus 7 seconds per day. That's in a dial up configuration. And I've seen it play out to that. However, I haven't really seen it play out to that because here's the deal. I don't know if you've been noticing as it's been flipping back and forth and I've been showing you the front and the back and talking all about it. Well, you might have noticed it has an hour hand and a minute hand and even a date complication. There is something missing. It doesn't have a second hand. All right, so normally you'd think like a nice dress watch would maybe forego a second hand. It'd be a nice two-hander manual wind, or maybe you'd have a sub-dial seconds or something like that. Well, in this case, they completely did not include a second hand, but they still gave you the date, just in case you're curious. Now, what's really fun about this is even though they did not include a second hand, let me take this for a moment. I'm going to actually pull the crown. So first of all, let's take a look at the back. We can see that the balance is in motion. Now, I haven't recently wound this up. It's been a while. It's still going though. But I'm going to take it for a minute. I'm going to pull the crown. All right, so I pulled the crown and now we're in basically the date set position. So I have quick set for the date. And now I'm going to go ahead and push it in and then pull it out with a firmer pull so that I'm now in the time setting position. You can see that I'm setting the time. Now let's take a look while I set the time here to 2:10:10. Look at that beauty right there. Oh yeah. All right, let's take a look at the back. And we'll find that the balance is stopped, right? So you have the balance wheel right there. It's stopped. There's no motion at all. But then when I pop in the crown, it starts back up again. So even though this watch does not feature a second hand, it still hacks. It still hacks. There's not even a second hand on here, and it's hacking. It's kind of interesting. Now you might say, well, how am I supposed to set it to exactly the right time? Well, you hack the movement. You pop it to exactly on the minute. You wait for the minute to come around, and then you let it go. And then it goes. It's a beautiful thing. Now, it does achieve, like I said, plus 7 seconds a day, which is definitely respectable. It's a little bit outside of the range of COSC standards, although we didn't really test it in more than a single position anyway. So it's definitely achievable with this movement, and they have put some care into it. So one of the things you'll notice if you look at the back and you look basically at the regulation screw, which I'll try to kind of jiggle into place and take a look right in the center there of the frame, we see that the regulation screw is not pointing straight at the middle. It's not pointing, straight between plus and minus like they didn't actually take the time to regulate it, but it's actually a little bit off of there. It tells you that they actually took the time to think about, how is the timekeeping of this movement? Is it achieving the a time within the range that we're aiming for? And they spent a little bit of time on that. So even though it's not necessarily certified by, the standards body of your choice, it's not META certified, it's not COSC certified, at least they took the care to actually try to regulate this at the factory, which I can't say that for, all watches, especially within this price range, although I'm very happy that they did that within this price range. Now, another thing you'll notice as I have it turned over here is that we do have these spring bars that are kind of these quick change spring bars. So you can pretty easily take off the strap, which, to be honest, I am not super pleased with the strap. All right. So it does, it is a proper Hamilton leather strap and all that goodness is there. But to be honest, it's a little bit too stiff. I'm a little bit concerned as I wear it. Is this going to crack? Is it really going to maintain the suppleness that's necessary to, I don't know, not just crack and look terrible? It hasn't yet. So maybe I'm just worried about nothing, but I feel like it's just not going to age well. It's not going to, handle the day-to-day very well. It's already starting to look not awesome. And I haven't worn it all too much. I mean, it's not been, I've worn it, I've used it, but I feel like I haven't abused it really. And it's already starting to, I don't know, it feels, even if it's not coming through on camera, I'm looking at it on the camera, actually, it doesn't look that bad. But in person, it definitely feels and looks worse than it does here. But there is some good things on the strap. Of course, it is quick change. You can change that out. It is offered on a bracelet as well. But as we look at the buckle, it's a signed buckle, and it says Hamilton as expected. It's something they put a little bit of extra care in, and that's maybe something you'd expect anyway at this price point, but it's definitely a nice touch. Now, despite this watch's dress watch styling, and in fact its full commitment to being a dress watch with only 2 hands, it does, of course, add the date window and it adds lume. And so, yes, it does feature lume on the hour hand and minute hand. Now, you can't really tell exactly what time it is if you're not well oriented, so maybe you've had too much to drink. That's probably not advisable if you're trying to tell the time. You won't necessarily be able to feel what's going on if you've been asleep for a few hours and you look at your watch and it's pitch black in the room. So you need that orientation of what's going on. You don't have any lume on the indices. You don't have any kind of 12 o'clock indicator or really anything to tell you what direction it's facing, but you do have the hands themselves lumed. So as long as you have your orientation about you, you can figure out roughly which way your watch is facing. You can tell the time in the dark, and there is some degree of staying power. Not a lot of brightness, but it does stay. So all in all, a fairly decent watch, especially if you're looking for a two-hander with a date. Now, that's a weird thing to look for, but hey, you never know. All right, that wraps up our review of the Hamilton Jazzmaster Thin Line. Very versatile watch. It is definitely one of those affordable dress watches you can put on and not have to worry about it. And I think that's kind of where it fits in my collection. I have dress watches where I put on, I kind of have to worry about it a little bit, have to think about it. Although sometimes I really like to think about it. I like to look down and just stare at the back of the movement and get really excited about it. But in this case, this is not one of those. It does have a beautiful dial to go with your, different outfits you might have. Has lots of different strap options, lots of different dial options. So you can pick something that works for you. But again, it is in that affordable bracket. You can put it on, not worry about it, and still have a gorgeous Swiss-made watch with a with a proper movement, not a popper movement at all. In fact, this is one that you see, again, heavily modified, used in a lot of popular calibers. And in fact, you might actually have this already in your collection. Even if you have a Sellita SW300, that's kind of one of those modified versions of this. Anyway, I'm pretty much done talking about it at this point. I've said lots of words. I should let you get on with your day. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it, and we will see you next week on Nick's Picks Watch Reviews. Thank you. If you like this episode, please be sure to subscribe to both this channel and the About Time channel, give this video a like, and hit that notification bell to be notified about future episodes.